Well, today I'm chatting with two-time award-winning filmmaker and Best Actor nominee David Stay, who is an actor, director, producer, and author. To many, he's known as the actor who played Mandarr, one of the lead characters in the 1986 television cult classic Photon, which helped spread the popularity of laser tag to a younger audience in the mid-'80s during the height of the popularity of the original laser sport Photon. David, thank you for taking the time to talk with me. Did you know how big Photon, the laser game, was becoming as you were filming the television series?
I knew nothing about the laser tag game. I had no clue about it. Never played it. Wanted to play it when I met you. My whole back and hip was out. And I found out doing the show that it was all designed to promote the laser tag centers from the guy in Texas.
Well, when did you first learn about the show, and what was the process for you getting cast as Mandarr?
I was in New York. My buddy James called me, who studied Japanese in college. This is in New York. And he said, "Hey, I'm going to Japan. You want to go?" I said, "What, are you out of your mind?" I said, "What are you going to go to Japan for?" And a couple of days later, I saw in, I don't know, Variety or they were casting for this TV show that was shooting mostly in Japan. And I called him and said, "I'm going with you." And I went to Japan with $500 in my pocket. I tracked down a manager eventually about this show. This is way before the show even started. There was just some news about it, possibility, with Geek Entertainment. And I became the first American bartender at the Hard Rock Cafe. And then I did a lot of modeling work and all kinds of stuff. I was Elvis in Japan. And I got this manager, this Philippines guy, what was his name? How long ago it was. Anyway, whoever he was, I tracked him down. And he says, "Yeah, I'll get you in the door." So I auditioned for Bodie Lee. I auditioned for the hero. And the casting director said, "Can you be mean?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Mean as in the bad guy?" He says, "Yeah." He says, just do it. Just improvise. And I went off. And 2 days later, Leo, that's his name. That's my Philippine manager. 2 days later, he called me and said, "You got the gig." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You got the job. You're the bad guy." And I said, "Unbelievable. Thank you so much." And history was made as myself playing Mandarr. Although I wasn't the original bad guy. The warrior, the guy with the four arms, he was the original bad guy. And after the first episode, everything was changed. I became the lead bad guy.
And what do you remember about your time on the Photon set? Do you have any stories?
I have 1,000 stories. I'll tell you one specifically, which was fantastic to me. And it was just the fact that in Japan, you don't have autograph books. They have little placards, like cardboard placards. And I would get to the studio, and there would be these girls out there, little girls. They would hang out in front of the gates. And we're talking a big studio. We're talking, I don't know how many stages there were. 28 stages. So they're doing all these TV shows there. So little girls and little boys would hang out outside the gates to get autographs. And I would come, and these little girls would come running to me for my autograph, which is fantastic, only because they don't understand that this show is never going to air in Japan. It might have. I have no clue. But it was only going to air in the United States. And I would sign autographs. Like a big superstar, like a TV star, a movie star. And they would just love it. And I would, kowtow and make their day.
Well, excellent. What do you remember about your fellow cast members?
They were all great. The guy who he was a strange cat. None of us really cared for him. Kind of a blowhard, and he just had a strange sense of humor. My buddy Christopher, he was pretty awesome. Me and him had tons of laughs. Lord Baden, my Australian friend Graham, who was in that rubber suit every day for 8 months. He was awesome. His wife was awesome. What's the kid's name?
Narrows played Parsifal?
Yeah, Parsifal, right. He was a great kid. His sister was always there with him. She was the on mom's set because he was a young kid, but his sister was always there. She was everybody was great. Loretta, when I went to the first day on set, I'm at the train station. Everything in Japan is, I don't even know why they have cars. You can get anywhere you want by the subway, the trains. And I'm sitting there waiting for the train, and there was this young lady there. And we both went to the same place, and we both got off, and she was Tibia. Loretta was Tibia. And she's a big musician now in England. I believe she's in England. But we would all have, it was an unbelievable time. And Jim Carrington, I have no clue where he is. He was the United States director. He was the guy that was always there to just look over things. And he's the guy that gave me the job directing 4 episodes because he had to leave. And I was the only actor in the entire cast. I was the only actor. There's somebody that trained, studied acting and was a working actor. And we were doing, this was before production started because you kept being prepared to do this show. And your costume, you had to wear if you see Mandar's feet, his boots, that's how big they were. They were gigantic. Gigantic. You had to learn how to walk in them and fight in them and run. And we would do these experimental acting courses throughout the first week or two, just getting prepared to do this show. And Jim Carrington was saying, we're all walking around in a circle. And he said, okay, it's really cold right now. It's really cold. I want you to be cold. They're all acting experiments. And we're all cold. And then he says, okay, now it's really hot. Really hot. And as an actor, I start sweating my ass off. Sweat is dripping down my face. And he stopped everyone. He said, there it is. He says, this guy is hot right now. Something to that effect. I'm not sure what it was. But that was the experience. It was just, we were a family for 8 months, 9 months. We were a family. And we were together 16 hours a day for I couldn't tell you how long. Every day, except for Sundays.
What did you go through with the costuming and the makeup in order to prepare for the filming?
I found that, since you mentioned the makeup, that was a big part of it. The makeup was really nothing. It's, half hour, 40 minutes. You sit there and they put the eye makeup on and glue the thing to my head and do the hair. And my costume, my suit, was pretty much just zip it up. I was the most fortunate one out of all of them. You should have seen these guys with, covered up in the costume, with the headgear, the characters. Boy, oh boy, they were a mess. I felt bad for them. I had probably the most, me and Tibia and Bodhi and Parsifal, we pretty much had the most comfortable costume. We just zipped them up. But what occurred, this is something I learned about the whole process of being an actor. was I started to snap at people. My temper was very short, and I am not a short-tempered person. Very difficult for you to make me angry. I mean, very difficult. And I was getting very short with people. And I came to realize it's because I'm being angry all day long. I'm acting it, and it's taking a hold of me. So I'm not only bringing the character to the set, but I'm bringing it home. And I'm talking snapping at people, just getting aggravated with everything. And I realized it's because this is what I'm doing. This is my mind stay every day. This is what I do all day long. I'm being angry. So once I realized that at the end of the day, I sit in the chair again and they take the makeup off. That's the creams and everything else. Get all this shit off your face. And I spent my time meditating and letting go of the character. And it was cool. I figured that out. You look at some of your act. Look at Heath Ledger. Look at him. He took on that Joker character, man. And that's one of the most fantastic. I mean, you tell me anybody that puts on a performance like that guy did as the Joker in that Batman film, that guy personified him because he took him over. He became the Joker. And I think it was his demise. As a matter of fact, I don't know if it's true or false, but Jack Nicholson, who played the original Joker with Michael Keaton, he played the original Joker. He told Heath Ledger, hey, be careful. Just be careful playing this guy, playing this character. And look what happened to him. He took him home. But Heath Ledger, and I'm telling you, I was never a huge fan of his. I was never a huge fan. He was okay. He was a guy. He was that guy. Until I saw that Batman, and I watched his performance. And you watch that guy playing the Joker. Look at his eyes. He became that evil, everything about it. That's what you do. You take it all. You understand the character you're playing. You sink in deep into it. I can't stand when I hear anybody say that acting is easy. F you very much. It's not an easy job if you do it right. If you just, memorizing lines and delivering them and not getting into that person that you're supposed to be, then it's pretty easy. But when you love it and you understand your craft and you study for 10, 15 years how to perfect it, and you get in that mode, it is not an easy job. It's one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. You transform your freaking being into being that person you're going to portray to entertain you. So next time anybody says acting is easy, F you very much. Go try it for real.
Now, going back a step to before Photon, you had mentioned the bartending, you had mentioned the modeling and such, but did you do any professional acting prior to that, and what kind of training did you have before getting to Photon stage?
Let's see, I studied acting with two of my mentors, Mervyn Nelson, rest his soul, an amazing man, and they were both, Mervyn Nelson and Mortimer Clark, were my two mentors as an actor. Mortimer Clark, man, that guy was serious. And you studied with him, if you were half-assed, he'd throw you out. He'd say, get out of my class now. He wanted it perfect. And Mervyn Nelson, pretty fantastic man. Studied with him. I studied dance for 5 years. I went to Alvin Ailey's. I studied tap dancing at Carnegie Hall. You name a technique, I studied it. I did, and here in California, I worked for the LA Connection, which is, a big improv group. Worked with them for quite a few years. If you're true about it, you study. You study it. It's a craft. It's not, I personally believe, even though I'm a natural actor, you got to study your craft. You have to study. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go with this guy? Especially I play a lot of bad guys. Where are you going to go with him? I did a film, Tres Caminos, Three Roads, took place in Spain, France, and Los Angeles. Of course, I'm the last guy. It's all about alcoholism. And this is the last guy. And this is the guy who's dying from it. And the Three Roads was pretty much the story of these three individuals, but they took the same path, the exact same path. And to be 10 days on set as this guy who's dying from alcoholism. I had a swill bucket on the set where I would swish Jack Daniels in my mouth and spit it in the bucket, so I always had the taste in my mouth. And this guy, Renee Bauer, I played the third Renee. This guy dies from it. To get to that guy and be him for 10 days, that's tough, man. That's a tough place to be. For anyone, takes a toll on you. Hurts.
Well, turning the corner back to Photon for a moment, to what degree did the effects that were used in the series reflect the video technology that was current at the time? And maybe also speaking to, you directed a couple of episodes, maybe you had some input.
I directed the actors. I was because that's what Jim Carrington was there for, because 95% of the crew did not speak English. We were there to direct the actors, because your director spoke Japanese, and like Parzival, he spoke Japanese. Chris spoke pretty good Japanese. I spoke Japanese, but when it comes to directing, you got to really get it across. So we were what you would call supervising directors. So we would supervise the actors, directing them on their performance. And it was Power Rangers before its time. That's what it was. And it was the campiest you've ever seen. It was hilarious. To this day, it's hilarious. And they designed it that way. So as far as the effects go, it was, blue screen. That's what we worked on, blue screen. We were on location like 3 or 4 times for episodes. Those were the best times ever, because you're off the blue screen. And that's all you worked on. It was just this gigantic blue screen. Floor, walls, ceiling, background, blue. And everything's superimposed onto it. Now you have green screen. It was what it was. It was Photon, man.
You were mentioning that Chris and Eros knew some Japanese. Do you know anything of the background of how the other cast members ended up where they did with you?
Well, Chris was a military kid. He was, he traveled everywhere. His dad, I'm pretty sure it was his dad, was, in the military, so they would travel. And Parzival, I believe he lived there. He just lived there. And Loretta, I have no true answer. I mean, I know a little bit, but I can't help you in that department.
Well, getting away from the technology, but back to something you were talking about at Photon. The voices that were used in the episodes were not those of the original actors. Do you know the reasons why the voices were dubbed, and did any of the original actors' voices ever get used?
The first 2 episodes were us. And what occurred was they were all different accents, and they didn't like that. Bathan, my buddy Graham, was from Australia. Loretta was from England. I was from New York. Hey, yo, how you doing? Hey, I'm gonna, break your head right now. Parzival was normal, English accent, and they just didn't like all the the different accents. So that's why they decided to dub it all.
And you've kind of addressed this, but what kind of rapport did you have with the rest of the cast and the crew?
I loved them all. I had a big problem with one of the directors. And I'm going to fill you in on some very curious information here. I kind of think it's fantastic on one end, and on the other end, I think, not my style, but it's Japan. As far as all the cast members and all the crew, the guy who played Pyrar, I didn't have much of a rapport with him. We discussed this earlier. He was just a strange cat. He had a really weird sense of humor and just a loud guy. He was just loud, always making stupid jokes, jokes insulting you. I didn't get along with him very well, but nobody did. None of us did. As far as everybody else, absolute fantastic. I'm going to tell you the story, and it's going to give you a little insight on how Japanese philosophy is. Well, one night, I don't know how many of us, 15, 20 of us, all go to dinner after shooting. And this director, if I could remember his name, I would say it, but he started laying in to this script girl. Now, she doesn't have a very major job on the set. He is just laying into her. And completely, really fast Japanese. I'm not even sure what he's saying, but she's starting to cry. And I get very upset, and I intervened. And I told him to shut the F up, stop it. I come to find the next day, and I think this is from Mac Masamori, who was my producer in Japan. And he was a big part of Photon. Mac Masamori came to me. What an amazing man. He's a great guy. Still is to this day. I pray, God be willing, he's still around. But Mac, he came to me and said, look, I understand you had a little problem. And I explained to him what occurred. He says, you have to understand the Japanese, our philosophies. And this is it, guys. And I think, again, you can take it or leave it. I think it's kind of fantastic, but no matter what job it is, what business you're in, if you go out socially, you can say anything you want. You can say anything to your boss. You can say anything to your coworkers. And the next day, everything's cool. That's what occurred. That's what I witnessed. This director had a problem with her and laid into her. And the next day, everything's cool. You don't worry about it anymore. Now, that's fantastic. That's a fantastic philosophy. Sure, there's a lot of problems involved with it. But as far as I'm concerned, if I could have told some of my bosses exactly what I thought of them, and the next day know everything's cool, think about it.
It's something. Did you spend much time with any of the rest of the cast off set?
We were pretty much together all the time. So there wasn't really much going out. You had a short day, you went out. When we were on location, we would go out a little bit. But other than that, you're just working all day. By the time you're done, you want to just go home. I'm done. I got to come back here at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and work another 16 hours.
When everything was said and done, and when the show was finished, did you return to the States immediately afterwards?
Not immediately. A couple of months, 3-4 months, I lived there.
Were you in the U.S. when the show was actually airing?
No. My family was. My family got to watch me every Saturday and Sunday morning. They got to watch it before I saw it. I'm telling you, I never saw an episode. I still, to this day, have not seen a full episode. I know them all, but have not seen one full episode. I have them all on DVD. Still, to this day, have not seen a full episode. To this day. I'm trying to think. I know a lot of them. And I know the parts I've seen. But other than that, I don't think I've ever gone from the 22 minutes through. I don't think I've ever seen a full episode.
Okay. I have a feeling then that the next question I have didn't really resonate since you weren't around it, but many people remember the home laser tag sets that were geared for children, but I wanted to know what you thought of the other merchandising that was more related to the show, such as there was a book series, an action figure line, licensed character items. Were you even aware of such things at the time?
Nope. I was not. I did a job. I loved Mandarr. I loved doing it. I loved coming back to the States and having mothers and 10-year-olds recognize me and love me. To this day, it still happens. As far as Photon goes, though, I had nothing to do with it. I was just an actor. I was Mandarr. I was the bad guy. Their marketing, I got no percentage of it. I'm not getting anything from all the merchandising. So, no, I was just the actor. I was just the guy that played the bad guy. That's it. Nothing else.
All right. Well, on the topic of mothers and 10-year-olds, I see that Square One TV is listed as one of your credits, and that was a show that really resonated with kids roughly in the same general time period as Photon, maybe a little thereafter. When were you on the show, and what role did you have on that series?
I just played a basketball player in an elevator. It was just a show. I got hired to play the basketball player. Square One TV or Square One Television. I don't know whether it was before or after Photon. I think it was actually before. Because it was probably before. That was just one of my nothing. It was just a day player. I worked for a day, I think. But I was a basketball player. I remember spinning the ball with my finger. That was my job. In an elevator. And I had 2 lines. 3 lines, I don't know. That was how long ago?
Okay, well, moving into your post-Photon life, you've obviously continued acting and been in a number of productions, on stage, in television, and in film. Do you have a favorite role that you've had the chance to play to bring someone else's character to life?
Do I have a favorite role to play or that I've played?
Well, that you've played so far, and I guess in that question I'm kind of excluding the things that you've written for yourself because I imagine that those are personal favorites in a different way, but with a role that you've been hired, have you had any favorites?
Thinking very hard now, so I want to answer you accurately. Unfortunately, I think my favorite role was Renee Bauer in Tres Caminos. That was the most painful role I've experienced. And just playing that role, man, there's a scene, I'll never forget it. Playing Mandarr was great. I'll never forget that. Playing Agent Jefferson and all the police I play. But Tres Caminos, playing that role, being on that set for 10 days, sinking myself so deep into it, it makes me emotional right now. Because it was tough. It was a challenge. I really had to sink my whole being into it. So that's probably the greatest role I ever played. And the unfortunate thing about it is, look, again, I'm just the actor. So it's not my film. It's Edwin's film. And unfortunately, in my opinion, it goes through a course. There's 3 human beings, all named Renee. And it's the beginning stages of alcoholism, the middle stages, and the end stages. That was me. Unfortunately, some of the choices the director made, I don't think people would get to my last 40 minutes of the film. They were terrible, especially the second guy. And I'm just, as a director and a producer and an actor, I look at films, everything else, differently than laymen. I look at the sound level. I give you a perfect example of this. One film that one of my favorites is Kevin Costner. 3 Days to Kill is really a fantastic film, in my opinion. I really enjoyed that film, which I just saw recently within the last few months. But the sound quality is horrific. Now, you know, somebody in the movie theater is not going to look at that. They're not going to hear it. But now, if you watch 3 Days to Kill, you'll see that the sound quality is all studio. It's just not right. I don't even know how I got on that track with you. But that's a good film. It's a good film to watch. 3 Days to Kill. He's great. Kevin Costner he's one of my heroes. He really is. And they've canned him so many times. They've canned his films. The Postman. Waterworld. Why are you canning this guy's poor film, Waterworld? It's a fantasy. It's about the world covered in water. So you can't be critical about it. It's a fantasy. And they canned it on him. The Postman, I know, yes, he does drag those movies out a long time, but I'm glad he does because I enjoy them. Dancing with Wolves, give me a break. One of the most fantastic films ever made, in my opinion. And since it's in my opinion, it means nothing unless you take something from it.
Well, going to your vantage point, you say you look at things a little differently as a director, as a producer. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of your current projects, or more current projects. I guess we can't really call Sphere of a Lycanthrope as current because it had such a build-up and such a life before it got out. But one of your projects that took some definitely interesting turns to get completed is your award-winning movie, Sphere of a Lycanthrope. And I was wondering if you could share a bit about the journey of that movie.
That's a whole other interview. Sphere of the Lycanthrope, I'm telling you, it's a whole nother show. We can do another time. That's 18 years of my life. Hard to condense that, put it that way.
Okay, fair enough. Suffice it to say, you've done a whole lot in the world of acting, directing, producing, and now we can add author to your list of credits. Is Dare Hunter your first novel?
Yes. Published novel, yes. I've been published before, but not a novel.
How would you describe the book?
It's tough. I took every hurt, every pain, every anger I had towards society in general, and I plugged it into Buchanan Dare, and I released it through him. Something has to be said for these criminals that get away, that don't deserve a jail cell. I put everything into Buchanan Dare and got revenge for the little people. But that's who Buchanan Dare is. That's why it's Dare Hunter. That's who Buchanan Dare is. It's a man that was just tortured by his life, by life in general. Hurt him bad, where he just gave up. But at the same time, he didn't quit. Carried on. I was writing a novel called Alta, A-L-L-T-A, Alta. And I was very deep into it. It was kind of taking over my life. And my friend, Ford Austin, another great director and producer, Ford Austin, I've done many films with him. He told me, he said, you should start writing something else. Just take you away from that for a minute. He said, I see you as a cop. And that's how Dare Hunter started.
Are there any other current projects that you have in the works? Books, movies, whatever?
No. I'll tell you exactly what I've done. I'm done for the most part right now with the acting, directing. I'm done with it. I'm done. Done. And I tell you how long. Since I was a young man, since I was a teenager, I don't like to see things unorganized. And I would go into my friends' homes, and if I'm staying over and they fall asleep, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I just tidy up all their knickknacks. I organize their entire closet for them, and I've been doing this my whole life. It never is a business. I just love doing it. The big reason I feel is because you know what you started with, and you can look at what you've done for somebody else. These are things that people wouldn't do for themselves. There's the attic, there's the basement, there's the garage. They never want to deal with it. And I've done this. And over this holiday, Thanksgiving actually, my nephew got married the Saturday after Thanksgiving. I haven't been with my family in New York for 15 years for Thanksgiving. And everybody there goes to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I went down into my brother's basement, where we would hang out often. And it was a complete mess. And the work table, the main table that he worked on was covered. And that's where I started. If you've never seen my film Creepy, it's a short film, 7 minutes long, 7-11, I believe. That was the basement. It's over 100 years old, hasn't been cleaned in 100 years. And I put it this way, I wouldn't have been able to film my movie Creepy in that basement today, because I spent almost every night in that basement just organizing it, dusting it, putting everything in its right place. And my brother said to me when he saw it, he said, you should do this for a living, man. And I'm going to launch HIPPO, HIPO, Home Improvement Professional Organizer, within the next week. I'm telling you right now, because I enjoy it. And I can do that. That could be a career for me. Acting is not a career, guys. Sorry. Directing is not a career. Unless you slam it. But I've been doing it for 30 years. Perseverance all the way. And now I'm at the point where I'm thinking, you know what? I need a career. I'm an old man. I'm not that old. But I don't have much time left. So I got to build a serious nest egg so I can just kick back and do shit and watch Judge Judy all day,
Well, your next trip to New York, make a stop to my office, would you? That sounds really great. You better believe it.
I was just there. I was actually there, but it was only a week. It's Thanksgiving, and then this is so crazy. My nephew, Lawrence, got married, and I'm telling you right now, 28 years ago, it's like yesterday, that my brother and sister-in-law came into my bedroom and said, "Good morning, Uncle David." And they said, "What?" "Good morning, Uncle David." It was like yesterday. And now he's already married and his honeymoon in Hawaii done. It's like yesterday. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages, recognize every moment of your life means something. So savor it. Love it. Love every minute, because it's going to be gone before you know it. Yeah, you'll have more time later, but here, right now, you got to love it. And if it's not good, change it. Transform it. Make it good. People look at my resume, they think, "Oh, this guy's a millionaire." Get a clue. I've done I don't know how many films. Never made $1 million on a film. It's a love of it. You enjoy it. You do it, you go get paid a couple of bucks. That's about it. Not going to carry on. And that's why I'm transforming again. I've transformed I don't know how many times in my life. I'm transferring a home improvement professional organizer. I'm going to build it. I'm going to see what happens and carry on.
Hey, if Vanilla Ice can transition like he has, why not you?
Why not?
Well, final segue kind of on that note about how much time has passed now over the course of your career and just kind of swinging on back to Photon. 2014 marked the 30th anniversary for the game, and you were invited to participate in the Photon celebration in Laurel, Maryland. And I'd just like to know, what were your thoughts when you first heard about this event, that people were still thinking about Photon 30 years later?
I was very happy about it. I already knew, only because to this day, 30 years later, people are still recognizing me. Out of the blue, this isn't a daily occurrence. But, in a year's time, 3 or 4 people, you're at a gas station and someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, were you Mandarr?" It makes you feel good. Because that woman watched it with her child. And just being there, getting the phone call was a shock, or the email, or whatever form of communication I received about it was like, wow, this is awesome. And I talked to Mark, I believe it was, and next thing I know, I'm in Maryland. And I got to hang out with a bunch of people that were just awesome. And it was fantastic. It was just beyond what I would ever expect. And looking forward to next year. If it occurs, I don't know. But man, I will be there with bells on, because I had one of the best times I've had in a long time, hanging out just with a bunch of people that were into, playing laser tag and loving the TV show, and collectors, and who gave me the comment, the oh, come on, it's right here. Somebody gave it.
Page? That was me.
That was you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have it right here.
Oh.
I mean, just somebody to say, "Listen, I got something for you," which was you. And you come in and give me something I'd never seen, didn't know anything about a coloring book, but framed. You had it framed and you gave it to me. Man, you don't know how much that means to me.
Aw.
That means a lot. I'm the guy that got you your tibia button that you've never got.
Actually, you know what? A month later, I got a message from Mark, and they sent me the button. Yeah, I finally got it, and I appreciate that.
Okay, there you go.
Well, ending on that note, I want to thank you for taking some time to talk about Photon and some of the other projects. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Hey, listen, guys. If you enjoyed this conversation, which has been going on for a while, and you lasted this long, go to darehunter.com, buy the novel. Go to davidstay.com. You want to watch Fear the Lycanthrope. It's one kick-ass movie to this day. You'll love it if you like cult classics. And my email address is antondio33@gmail.com. That's ANTONDIO 33@gmail.com. You send me a note, I'll send you one back. I thank you, Lori, for this time to just let everybody know what's going on in my world. You might have gotten a little more information than you really needed. But again, I'm an open book. You want to know, just ask me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much once again, David, for taking the time to talk with me. And best of luck to you in your new endeavors.
Thank you, Lori. Love you.
Right back at you, Dee.